Good morning, everyone. Hope you are all well. So, it's a bright day. It's not raining. It's not snowing. Although in Yerushalayim, I'm told by my son, it is snowing. Thick snow in Jerusalem. Good morning to everyone. As you can see, we're in a good mood, ready to learn with you all. 18th of February. Let's see. So, today's learning is dedicated in memory of Daisy Bas Yisrael Yaakov Bar, Gershon Lev ben Moshe Mordechai Halevi Goldenberg, Shon ben Chaim Halevi Lee, Shimon ben Moshe Halevi Green, Mordechai ben Zev Walters, Shlomo ben Chaim Halevi Lee, Yelea Bas Yaakov HaKohen Lee, Tzvi ben Yaakov HaKohen Norman, and Gershon Lev ben Moshe Mordechai Levi Goldenberg, Miriam Bas Zachariah Solomon, Mordechai ben Zev Walters, and the names as follows: Ben Binyamin Akiva ben Shlomo Harav, Yaakov Tzvi ben David Aryeh Sachs, Leah Bas Bible, Tzipora Fegel Bas Ruben Baruch, Paul Casimir Shalom ben Eleli, Ben Bas Bible, Pruma Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel Caleb Bela Bas Henach Yirmiyahu Chia ben Moshe Eliezer, Sarah Malka Bas Binyamin, Shlomo Chia ben Yeshua Levi, Avram Mordechai ben Moshe Katna. Wish each and every one of them and their families long life. So we're going to do something a bit different. Okay, firstly, good morning also to all those that are joining us on a different channel this morning on the Facebook group of Woodside Park. We hope they enjoy it. This is an experiment. We'll see how it goes for everyone. Okay, so yesterday we were discussing the following Mishnah, and I can tell you already from the feedback that we had that not what I said, but the Mishnah itself, it just resonated with everyone right now. So I want to just add one more point and tell you a little story, and then we can move on if you want. So Hillel said as follows, okay? Hillel says, do not separate yourself from the community. He then says, do not believe in yourself until the day you die. Don't judge your fellow until you have reached his place. Let's stop there. Hillel said a few statements here. Firstly, he said, do not separate yourself from the community, right? Don't put yourself aside and I'm an island to myself. I'm all right in my home. But we're meant to be thinking constantly. We're inextricably bound and linked to every single Jew. We're one family. We're one entity. The Jewish sources say that we're one like one body. Then he says, do not judge yourself until the day you die, and don't judge your friend until you reach his place. And in essence, you should really always give other people the benefit of the doubt. You know why? Because you never know what's going on with somebody else. You may think you know, you may think that they tell you something, but what's really going on behind closed doors, what's going on inside, we never know. How well do we actually know ourselves? So I want to show you a story that I just heard. You may have heard it, but it definitely made an impression on me. A story from Israel. Where else would you hear such a story? A story about Rafi. Rafi was a 17-year-old yeshiva bocher. That's a yeshiva student. And he was on the bus. And everything always happens in Israel on these on the buses. So my son tells me. So he was on the bus and he was thinking about, some of the lessons that he'd been learning in the Talmudical Academy in Yeshiva about improvement and helping other people. And he hears on the radio the following story. Good morning, everyone who's joining us. And the story goes like this. There's a radio announcement. We have them sometimes, you get them on these messages or you get them on the radio. And there was this woman that said, they put an advert out for her, that her power had been cut off because she couldn't afford to pay the bill. Okay, so what happened next? Rafi gets off the bus and he thinks to himself, this is my moment. If I heard this message, it must be that I must be the one who can do something about it. Now, in those days, of course, no one had cell phones. 17 years old, jumps off the bus, and there's a Asimon phone. Remember the Asimon phones? Oh, I love the Asimonim phones. You used to have those little round things with a hole through them. And he puts the coins in and he goes to, and he makes the phone call. He makes the phone call to the radio station. And he says, I just heard on the radio that you made an appeal. If anyone could help this woman, she got a bill of 2,800 shekels outstanding, and she's got no power until the bill's paid. I'm taking it on myself. I'm going to pay that bill. You put back that electricity and I'll sort it out. So they didn't think anything more of it, but he was determined. And Rafi then spent the rest of the day going from family to friend to his yeshiva to everywhere. And by the end of the day, he had enough money to pay the bill. And he calls up the radio station frantically. He says, I've got the money. I'm dropping the money in and get the power put back on. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And that was the end of that story. He gave the money over to the radio station. They arranged for the money to be paid for this woman's bill. And sure enough, she got electricity back. Over 10 years later, and Rafi is now 27. He's married. He's got kids, and he's studying in yeshiva for smicha, whatever it was. And he's standing in the kitchen, schmoozing with his friend. And he said, and his friend asks him how life is, and he says to him, it's a bit tough at the moment. Things are tough. He says, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't, we things are tight with. They're always tight, but now they're particularly tight when it comes to finances. And in fact, the electricity company, they shut off our meter this morning. My wife's going mad. We've got a bill of 3,800 shekels and no idea how we're going to pay it. And things aren't easy. All of a sudden, somebody pokes their head around the corner and says, did I just hear you correctly? Did you say that you have an outstanding bill for electricity and your power's been shut off? So he says, yeah. He says, okay, leave it with me. He goes away, makes a phone call, and comes back. And he says, tell me quickly, what is the number of your meter? Well, he says, I've got the bill in my pocket, actually, because I was trying to sort something out with them. He gives him the number of the meter. The guy comes back a few minutes later, this other guy from yeshiva, and he says, your bill has been settled. Check with your wife. In 3 hours, you'll have electricity. So he says, I don't understand. How could you do such a thing? He says, because my Aunt Golda, she said to me that if ever you hear of anyone that doesn't have utilities, that doesn't have electricity, I want to pay for their bill. I want to settle their account. Because many, many years ago, when I was a young woman and I had 5 kids and I didn't have any money, there was somebody that came to my rescue. It went on the radio, and somebody paid my bill of 2,700 shekels back then, and I want to repay that debt. It's an incredible story. So many things to take out the story. But friends, let's take out the very basic point from the story, and that is, Al tifrosh min hatzibur, do not separate yourselves from the community. You have to listen to the needs of other people. Be aware, be conscious of what people are saying and what they are not saying. Read between the lines. There is so much going on in people's lives. I'm aware in the last 24 hours, just 2 instances that people have spoken to me and contacted me about their hardships, emotional hardships, financial hardships. And then on the other hand, as I said to you, 24 hours before this, somebody said to me, thank God, I just got a promotion and I want to give some money. If you know of anybody that's in a difficult situation, that's struggling financially, I want to help them. It's the same as my story that I just told you. It may not be as elaborate as being on a radio station, but we in Woodside Park can do and can create and achieve the exact same things. That we are one community, we're one entity, we're one body, like Hillel said, and therefore we have to listen out. And it doesn't all come down to finances. So much of what people are struggling with is psychological and emotional, and just being there to listen and to be an attentive ear to somebody else's pain is perhaps the greatest gift we can give anybody this year. Okay, we're going to stop there. And we are going to now recite Psalm 23. Burst of inspiration, 8:30 this evening. Fascinating talk. If you didn't hear it, I don't know if you can catch up, but it was fascinating last night with JWA. Thank you, Lee Wax. Unbelievable talk. Horrific, the domestic abuse, in particular during pandemic and lockdown. And please, God, we should all do our bit to help in any way we can. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Okay, we carry on. A reminder, this Friday, David Berman is back with Sammy. That's a phenomenal way to start the weekend, to start the Shabbat. That's at 2 p.m. this Friday on Zoom. Memorial prayer. Adon Olamim Zechoves Nishmos Le'abas Bible Ben Yomen Akiva Ben Shlomo Harav Yaakov Tzvi Ben David Aryeh Sachs Tzipora Feigel Abbas Reuven Baruch Paul Kazimir Shalom Ben Eleli Ben Abbas Bible from Rosh Hashanah Abbas Yaakov Shmuel Caleb Ben Abbas Henoch Yirmiyahu Chiel Ben Moshe Eliezer Shamak Abbas Ben Yomen and Yirmiyahu Yechiel Ben Moshe Eliezer Shlomo Yechiel Ben Yeshua Levi Abraham Mordechai Ben Moshe, as well as the Yortzeites for today, which are as follows. Daisy Bas Yisrael Yaakov Bar, Gershon Lev Ben Moshe Levi Mordechai Levi Goldenberg, Shlomi Ben Chaim Levi Lee, Shimon Ben Moshe Levi Green, Mordechai Ben Zev Waters, Leah Bas Yaakov HaKohen Lee, Zvi Ben Yaakov HaKohen Norman, Gershon Lev Ben Mordechai Levi Goldenberg, Miriam Bas Zacharia Solomon, Mordechai Ben Zev Waters, Shalach Ol Yolamam, Began Eiden Teimunu Chasam, Lachim Balarachamim, Yasi Rein Vesesa Kanafab Lolamim, V'yetzor Zechaysen Shosam Adonai Yamach Nachlasam, V'yanuchu B'Shlam Mishkavam, V'namar Amen. A story like that, it warms your heart. As Alan was saying, thank you, Alan, for your comment. It warms your heart to know that there's such goodness, such kindness in the world, and it's there, folks. And we can all make our little contribution in some way to helping people through this difficult period. I can see a bit of blue, a glimmer of light in the sky. We're heading towards spring. It's going to be, I can assure you, a much better spring and an even better summer. Look after yourselves. Keep well. We'll see you tomorrow. All the very best. Tomorrow we are not on until 2 p.m. for the Kabbalat Shabbat, but tonight it's 8:30 p.m. Burst of inspiration, 15 minutes.